COVID-19 is still ravaging our communities. At least each family has faced it now. But what do we have to do? Why are we facing it rough this time round? And what kind of measures do we have to take at all levels, individual, community, family, to see that we stop it and go back to normal, or live with it normally, or stop it? What can be possible? That is what we are concentrating on this time round. And I have a guest, a senior medical doctor at that, and a leader, very famous in this country. And we're going to share a number of issues in line with COVID-19, what his views are. And he has also come out and given some measures. Those that have taken them have given testimonies. So we want to get to know more with him, to get to understand what else does he have to tell this country about COVID-19. We take it and have a good life. That guest is none other than retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, and we're going to have a good chat with him. Doctor, you're most welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, and most welcome to our village. It's a very unusual interview because I have not interacted with UBC in a very, very long time.
Doctor, you have been on our news on so many cases.
Yes, I guess you take me there sometimes, I don't know, but as I'm sure you know, I have had a lot of issues with the UBC. So nonetheless, I'm glad that COVID has brought us together. And
that's what disasters do.
Yes, and you are welcome. A very good day to all of you who may be watching this program. You obviously sympathize with all the families in our country that are grappling with many patients, with passing away of dear ones. It's a very difficult time even for those who are not sick but are locked at home, many without means of subsistence. So it's a very trying time, and my sympathies to all of you.
Okay. Doctor, how are you yourself during the lockdown?
Well,
how are you finding life?
I am well by the grace of God. I happen to live in a village here in Kasangati. Our village is called Buyinja, and I've been here for a very long time.
You're Mutaka.
So I have some matoke which I eat from. I have grown some vegetables which I eat, and so I'm not adversely affected at a personal level by the circumstances that are around us. But certainly I feel, the burden that is now all over the country and around me. It's a huge, huge burden, and I've been saying that the best way to deal with it is really to share it as much as we can.
Okay. Doctor, you came out recently and shared a suggestion of kind of, I will call it a treatment. Many people have taken good use of it, and they have testimonies that it has helped them. Others are complaining about it's mixed with their other health problems and complications like ulcers and things like that. People have given it names. Some people call it the Besigye Zeneka, something like that. What informed your view to come out with this kind of suggestion?
Well, first of all, I am really not a person to take the merit for assembling what has been suggested to Ugandans to use during this time. The original research on these components was done by some academics in Tanzania. And they indeed were informed. There are proposals of how to build your immunity that are informed by scientific knowledge. It's not just a concoction that is not researched. They are researched. They are ingredients that are absolutely necessary in boosting the body immunity, and that is really its main purpose. So it's not a treatment that it's going to kill the virus, but it gives you capacity, your body, to kill the virus.
Okay.
And for the most part, viruses are dealt with by our bodies only. There are few viral conditions that have specific antiviral agents to kill those viruses. In the most part, viruses, we kill them by using our bodies. And so the body immunity, the body capacity to fight is extremely important.
That's what saves you.
Yes, not only in viruses, but in all other infective agents, because we are always being infected by all kinds of things in our daily lives. You take in contaminated things, whether it's on the food or drinks you eat, or you breathe, or whatever. They are infective agents that we are always taking into our bodies, whether they are fungus, whether they are viruses, whether they are bacteria, whether they are parasites, all kinds of parasites. There are many things we take into our bodies. But what determines whether you become sick or not is dependent on three things that are important for our people to understand. The first one, to determine whether if something gets into you, makes you sick, is how aggressive the agent that has come into you is. Even of the same types, there are different aggression, levels of aggression. Even if it's maybe you have got a flu, ordinary flus. Some flus are more aggressive than others. Even if you maybe have agents that cause pneumonia or diarrhea or whatever, it depends on how aggressive the agents that have entered your body are, how virulent they are. Secondly is how much of that you take in. Even if something is not very aggressive, if you take a lot of it,
it will affect you in that capacity.
It will make you sick.
Yes.
And that is the area where these masks are important in this fight, because these agents that cause COVID go in the air. And so if you have a mask,
it limits.
You reduce how much
you
can take in, even if it's in the air around you. The mask cuts off a big chunk of what you would take in otherwise. Similarly, if you are infected yourself, the mask holds back a lot that you would push into the air to infect others. So that is the second element. First, aggression of the infective agent. Second, the quantity. The quantity. Third is the ability of your body to fight whatever enters.
Okay.
And even when we are talking about vaccines, that's the area where they come into play. The vaccines help your body to fight The vaccines are not a treatment that they will kill the virus.
They only boost the
They
strength
boost
your body
your
can have.
ability to fight.
Okay.
They don't stop you from being infected. You will get infected, but you will not get the disease. You will not become sick, or if you become sick, you become mildly sick. You don't get serious disease.
So, doctor, that's the basis.
So
for
this
concoction.
body immunity is dependent on many things. And again, so one should not just listen to and do the things that we talk about, these drinks, the immune booster drinks. There are other things that are important in boosting your body, like having regular exercises is extremely important. As you exercise, the body generates some chemical components that are important in boosting your immunity. So if you are, lying down all the time, you are more prone to be attacked and to get serious disease. Secondly, to have enough sleep, because during sleep time, the body cleans out agents in the body that weaken your ability to fight disease.
During sleep?
During sleep. So sleep time is the time to clean out the body. It's like, in towns, people take the garbage at night. So at night you put out the garbage into the garbage bins.
During business time, everyone is just doing their work.
Yes, you are
so
doing.
That's what the body also does.
You are doing your work. You are storing the garbage in the bins at night. The
people in
the
charge.
garbage collectors then should come in cities and communities where this works. In our case, the garbage is never collected, and that is why we are in trouble. Or it is collected during the day when people are working. But garbage should be collected at night.
Yes.
And that's what happens in the body. So if you have enough rest, all the garbage in your body,
you're giving the body enough time to
to sweep all this garbage, wash the streets, and in the morning you are good to run again. So enough sleep is very good. Stress very adversely affects immunity. If you are stressed for any reason, you are worried about this, about that, you have stressful situation, you are living in fear, your immunity goes down. Okay. And again, so that's why even when we talk about public management, how governments manage situations like these, all these factors are critical. Yes, it's not just enough to say, you are bringing a vaccine, or you have a hospital. The public health or, health care of people should be aimed at people not becoming sick rather than treating them.
Okay. Doctor, with the Besigye, I'll give it the name people have given it. It has things from our garden. The components are things that somebody can get from the backyard. Natural ingredients.
Yes.
Is it time for our local herbs and our garden products now to take center stage?
Well, it has always been time. There is nothing that makes it the time now. It has always been time.
But in most cases, we have gone to the pharmacies, and that's where we have had hope.
Yes, you see what is in the pharmacies, also a lot of it starts in the gardens. They only now commercialize it and produce it and pack it in commercial presentations. But all of it, and eventually sometimes they manufacture it artificially. But all of it, or most of it, begins in the nature, in the gardens. My grandmom, my paternal grandmom, was an accomplished herbalist. She knew, very, very many herbs that could treat all kinds of ailments.
Okay.
And, you know, she was a consultant in that regard. People used to come even from abroad, from Rwanda, from Congo, to come and consult, and she would understand what they are suffering from and go to the
gardens
to the bushes and collect herbs and mix them and treat them, and they
People could heal.
and heal and go back. So regrettably, when colonial during colonial time, we lost a lot of this knowledge because it was not recorded. It was not, they would pass it on verbally and through apprenticeship to the young ones who would keep on the process. Now, during colonial time, this was lost, and the whole idea of bringing packaged ones from
Wherever.
took center stage, and it's been unfortunate that you know, our country and indeed Africa lost centuries of very
knowledge.
valuable knowledge that had been accumulated. So there are still, you know, some remnants of that knowledge
But still in the villages.
amongst our people, and I think it's important that that knowledge is you know, collected, is protected, and developed. You know, I happened to be a medical worker in an environment where we didn't have modern medicines during the war. And, you know, I had to,
to bring in your grandmother's
yes, I had to resort to some of the things that I had learned as a child, but also to take advantage of the knowledge that was within the community where we were.
Okay.
You know, the old women, the men who knew some of these
So
things.
you would consult them, put
Yes,
things together,
yes,
and help people cure.
yeah, even get them to actually do the needful themselves. So yes, these natural, you know, herbs and you know, agents that can be used in medical care are very useful. And so the booster has those kinds. I was talking about, you know, where the immune booster falls. Apart from using these herbs, one needs, as I said, to consider all the other things, including, you know, avoiding stress, including, you
Exercise.
know, yes, not taking a lot of alcohol, smoking. All these things undermine the body immunity. Now, having dealt with that, what this immune booster brings are nutrients that build the body immunity. One category of such nutrients, which is very, very important, are vitamins. And the whole range of vitamins are very, very important. Vitamin A, vitamin B, vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin E, vitamin K, all these vitamins, the whole range of vitamins.
Back to the local products, the herbs and all that, how much can they go in terms of fighting a disease like COVID-19? You're talking about immune
so
boosting.
this is what I'm telling you.
Immune boosting. Can we push it to
So this is what I'm saying. The nutrients in those natural ingredients that are important are in this category. I'm telling you, the vitamins are in the natural things. And some of those that you call the Zeneca or whatever provide those essential vitamins. Most prominent, the vitamin C, which is quite prevalent in many fruits, but the reason we recommend lemon and all citrus fruits, you know, oranges, grapefruit or whatever, they have a lot of vitamin C. But on top of the vitamin C, which is a lot in lemons, the lemon, that scent you hear, you feel of lemon, the lemon aroma comes from the peelings of the lemon fruit, which have ingredients that are also useful apart from the vitamin C in the body immunity. And they come out when you put the fruit or the peelings in hot water. And that's why, you know, what we recommend is that you slice the lemon and put it in the hot water. So on top of getting the juice with the vitamin C,
the orange, the peelings also,
yes,
give you the products in it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So so these are supposed to provide, you know, those vitamins, the minerals. There are some minerals which are very, very important, like zinc, which has been again found to be particularly important in this COVID
kind of situation.
infection.
Doctor, you have...
Now these can also, if you can't get them and they are indeed becoming increasingly expensive, you may find that they are cheaper buying the artificial ones.
Okay.
You can buy vitamin C from the shops.
If you can't get lemon or...
Yes, if you can't get all these things we are talking about, take a lot of those vitamins, or you can get zinc tablets, again, from the shops and so on.
Okay. Doctor, there are people that have given testimonies about your suggestion. I will continue calling it the Besigye, the social media name, about how it has helped them. But again, there are people that have complained about the ingredients in it relating with their situations, those with ulcers, for example. And you have colleagues, medical doctors, that have also supported them, that these can really escalate their problems, especially ulcers. What is your view about that, and how would you advise those that have already taken it on?
First of all, ulcers as a condition is not something that should, you know, chronically bedevil our people. The greatest cause of ulcers is known. It's also an infective agent.
Okay.
It can be treated. There is no reason why one should live with ulcers that for me, I am an ulcer.
An ulcer patient.
Part of that is actually psychological. Some people just, you know, consider that they have ulcers and
they have to live with it.
Yes, so first of all, if you think you have ulcers, let it be properly diagnosed. And as I have said, the greatest majority of ulcers can be easily treated. Even those that can't be easily treated with medicine can be treated by other means. People who just keep on saying, I have ulcers, some of them even end up being killed by cancers, because some cancers actually present as ulcers, and people keep on this and that until when it is too late. So if you have ulcers, if you think you have ulcers, let this be managed properly by medical experts, and it can be treated.
How can
But
I
while you are still having a situation whereby maybe if you take things that are on the acidic side, that they may, you know, cause you pain in the stomach, you don't, the only ingredient in what we have proposed in what is called that Zeneca is paper, the camulari.
Yes.
Those are the only ingredient
that may escalate the ulcer problem.
Yes. Lemons in hot water become alkaline.
Okay.
So they are, even if you have actually a problem in your tummy, lemons are good. But put them in warm water, and actually the lemon water is alkaline.
How about ginger?
Ginger is okay. It it shouldn't cause any problem with.
When it's too hard, doesn't it also
So, you know,
escalate
like all substances, including medicines, you must take whatever you take in measured quantities. And indeed, we have proposed the kind of measures you should take. So if you take a bowl of ginger, it causes you a problem.
an overdose, definitely.
Yes, yes. So take the thing in measured quantities that we have proposed, and even in the mixtures we have proposed how much ginger you should put, how much katunguru chumu or garlic you should put, how much lemon you should put, how much the other big onion you should put. So put them in the recommended quantities and mix them and take the recommended portions each time you take them.
Okay, so it is about how much you take that your other health problems may be escalated or get other problems.
Yes, and if you are, as I have said, if you have indeed a situation like ulcers where paper may cause you more pain and maybe it worsen your condition, don't include it. Okay. It can be excluded, and some people have even
that's where actually the worry is, that when I exclude maybe some elements, then it will not be a complete
No, it can be excluded, and some people have added honey instead of paper, which also gives it a better taste, and I have no quarrel with that. But I am not very anxious to recommend the addition of honey. You can just take the other 4 ingredients, mixed together, and you'll be good.
We are with retired Colonel Dr. Kizza Besigye, a senior medical practitioner that we all know, and also a political leader in this country. But we are taking advantage of his profession, and we have come to know that he has a background of medicine right within his family, with his grandmother having been a traditional medical practitioner, a healer. Doctor, welcome back from the break.
Thank you very much, and maybe it's correct to protest being called a senior medical practitioner. Being old doesn't make you a senior medical practitioner.
Okay.
I am an old person with some medical knowledge in my background.
Okay. Okay. I withdraw that. Doctor, how much can we fight on with COVID-19? And how much do you think we can fight on? How long can we fight on?
Well, first of all, the virus that causes COVID-19, a virus which is called serious acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, was only identified in December of 2019. Having been identified and become part of our world, it will stay forever.
Okay.
It is not going to disappear. We are going to live with it, paka and paka.
So what do you think we have to do?
Now, so we have to learn how to live with it, how to control it so that it does not adversely affect us.
How are we going to do that at personal level?
And you know, so the initial actions that were needed were to reduce the rate at which it spreads, because we don't have any medicine for it, and it can cause serious disease, even death.
Yes.
So the idea was to reduce the rate at which it spreads as we look for means of protecting ourselves against it, either by immunizing our bodies so that it can no longer harm them, or by getting something that kills it,
Okay.
so that if it comes into your body, you can kill it with drugs. Now, so the reduction of spread was to buy time for this to happen, so that many people don't become sick at the same time, and many die because they would overwhelm whatever healthcare facilities you have if many people become sick, and the doctors and so on. So it was the first actions were to reduce spread, so that we are looking for how to protect ourselves, but also looking for how to better manage the illness before we get
those that had been affected.
Yes,
already.
before we get permanent solutions. So reduce spread as you increase your healthcare capacity, reduce spread as you research to find remedies, reduce spread as you discover, as you work on means of overcoming the economic impact that it creates. So,
We just have to learn how to stay
to live with it.
Okay.
Now, our concern in how it has been managed in Uganda.
That's why I wanted to come, because
Yes.
Doctor wanted us to start with the international picture. Why? The virus has now produced variants, a good number of them. Now, in my view, it has even overpowered us internationally, because the vaccines already on the market. I was talking to some medical doctor who told me, actually an official in government, he told me, in fact, that's the problem, but we have to keep vaccinating. The vaccines were produced when the variant was still almost one, the China variant. Now we have like almost 10 and most dangerous ones, but we are still taking in vaccines that were produced when these other more deadly ones had not yet surfaced. In your view, are we still on the right move internationally in as far as handling COVID-19 is concerned? That's why we'll move to come home.
Yes, internationally, I think, first, the international community responded, I think, in record time to come up with the vaccine within a period of
around 8 months.
Less than a year. That has never happened in the history of vaccines.
Okay.
And this is because the new technology was applied in developing these particular vaccines, which of course itself is controversial because of its being new and because of the means through which it was developed. And there is a whole lot of debate there. But this was nonetheless a commendable response internationally, that vaccines could be made in such a time that have demonstrated that they can protect people. What has not been in that regard properly managed is how those vaccines are made available to the whole world. The countries that have produced these vaccines, who are the developed countries, took a rather unfortunate position of, first of all, commercializing the vaccines so that those who produce them can maximize the benefit out of their production, because it's an intellectual property that is owned by those who produce them, and they can manage it for commercial reasons. That, I think, is a blunder. Whereas intellectual property rights have a very, very useful role in the development generally, I think where health is concerned, they have to be managed differently.
Oh.
Because, you see, health is a public good. And you cannot manage, you can't say, I will manage the health of my home. I don't care what happens to the health of the neighbor. Because you may manage the health of your home, your neighbor will affect your own health. So health is an area where we need universal access. And this is a matter that is not yet well appreciated internationally and also within countries. So the rules that govern intellectual properties really need to be
checked when it comes
changed in respect to properties that affect world health, public health.
Doctor, on that very issue of vaccines.
Because, and the reason is this, which you talked about. You know, the longer we take to contain the spread and affliction from this virus, the more the variants we get. So even the one who developed a vaccine in a short time finds that what he developed or she developed is no longer applicable.
Okay.
And is also killed by the variants that you have created amongst the populations that are not vaccinated.
Yes.
So it is important that everybody is vaccinated as quickly as possible. And so we need a new approach in managing intellectual properties in the health arena, in the public health arena.
What is your view about the situation where some countries are not recognizing some vaccines?
Well,
if you have a vaccination certificate with such and such a vaccine, we will not allow you in our country.
That again must fall within the area of international regulation. And that's why, you know, we have World Health Organization as a world body. So standards must be set for the world community as to what is acceptable, what is not acceptable. And it should not really depend on each country to say, you know, we don't recognize this, we don't. In as far as health is concerned, there should be standards. If there is a standard of vaccine that is considered unacceptable generally, it should not be approved. Now,
if it is approved, it can't be one country to say no.
Yes, yes. So this is in the area of international regulation, and I think the sooner they do that, the better, because already there is talk of vaccine apartheid.
Let me now bring you home, Doctor. How what is your view on how we are handling the COVID-19 situation?
Yeah, so before I come home, maybe to just conclude on the international scene, I think what needs and needed to be done as soon as the vaccines were the technology to manufacture these vaccines was approved, should have been to license all those who have capacity to produce to do so, so that there is no shortage of vaccine because the producers are few. And I'm glad that I think that is beginning to happen, but still a lot of challenges because of those intellectual properties. But that is what needs to be done urgently. So that in Africa, you know, we have countries like South Africa, I think Egypt and some others who can manufacture these drugs, these vaccines quickly, and everybody gets them. But also, finally on this matter, I think this must serve as a wake-up call for Africa especially. Because all other people have been able to, the Chinese have, Russians have, even now I hear a small country like Cuba has developed a vaccine, and the Americans have. What's wrong with Africa? You know, and you know, some time back I used strong words to say that we are really foolish, and we must be harsh.
President Museveni says we are asleep.
We must be harsh with ourselves. Mr. Museveni has really no right to comment on what is going on.
But you agree with him?
Because he has been in charge of one of the African countries for possibly one of the longest periods among African leaders. And so if we are talking about the guilt of African governance, he should serve the longest period in jail for the failures of Africa.
How are we managing COVID
in Uganda? All other governments combined served 24 years. He has been in office for more than 35. So our failures can no longer be attributed to the previous governments. They are square on his shoulders now. So that is a good point at which to examine what has happened in Uganda itself. You see, as I have said, a pandemic that is going to be here with us forever, that is impacting everybody's life adversely, everybody's livelihood adversely. That is a crisis of a major magnitude for a country. And we should have managed it totally differently, in my view, to start with, by involving everybody, because this is a national crisis where people's, you know, the public safety of everybody is impacted.
At stake.
Yes. And our constitution envisaged such a situation. And that's why there is in the constitution Article 110 that talks about a state of national emergency. So a state of national emergency under Article 110 should have been declared in our country. And once it is so declared, then Parliament must kick in, and a plan presented to Parliament on how the emergency is going to be managed.
Doctor, are you not looking at the situation in an exaggerated manner?
You'll tell me of what I am saying, what is exaggerated. I'm just telling you.
Taking on a state of emergency.
Yes, but what...
When we have a Ministry of Health, we have all these
yes,
people.
But
they just play their roles?
You know, I have told you where that comes from and what brings it about. You know, Article 110, if it is not to come into play in circumstances like we have, what would bring it into play?
What I want to know from
why
you,
was it enacted? Is it me who enacted it?
Of course
why
not.
was it enacted? And this is the reason why it is absolutely necessary, as I have said. That is what creates the avenue for all affected to be involved right from the beginning in understanding what is going to be done.
Doctor, what I want you to tell me.
In contributing to what is going to be done.
Do you see the situation as worse to the extent that calls for that Article 110?
What can be worse than a situation that adversely impacts the health of all Ugandans, the socio-economic life of all Ugandans, that necessitates the shutdown of the country, including all livelihoods, what can be more severe? What can be more demanding of an emergency than this? And the reason it demands that kind of approach, as I have said, is that then it compels the involvement of everybody.
What limits everybody's involvement currently?
Well, no opportunity has been availed to the country to contribute in building a plan and understanding what happens, because that can only be done in Parliament. Parliament is the representation of the people of Uganda. What rather Mr. Museveni chose, and I will also suggest why I suspect he did so, why he chose to rely on a law that was made in the colonial times, has never even been changed. The Public Health Act of 1935 is what he has been relying on to issue directives, rather than to have a national plan that has been discussed and understood and approved through Parliament and by the country, also contributing ideas through our representatives in Parliament, so that there is a national consensus on a plan that is to be managed. Secondly, that then this plan is monitored to see how it is being implemented. Under that law, the government is required to regularly report to Parliament the achievements or the steps that where the plans, how the plans are working out. Now, on the other hand, in the other Public Health Act, it gives, and this is what has been happening, it gives the minister power to issue regulations. And it is even the directives that Mr. Museveni has been giving were given legal effect by the minister.
Yes.
They became the minister's orders.
Statutory instrument.
Yes. And which, of course, the minister is part of the executive, which is the president. Now, so there is no popular involvement. It's orders. Secondly, there is no plan that was rolled out even then. That, for example, we are going to lock down the country
Yes.
for so long in order to achieve the following. That we want to increase the hospital beds so that after lockdown, when the danger of more patients come up, we are ready. We are going to increase our beds by so much. We are going to increase doctors by so much. We are going to increase nurses. We are going to buy facilities, oxygen, what. This is our plan for improving the medical care.
A lot of such things were done during the previous lockdown. I'm talking about a plan, even before we talk about what is done, that there is a plan which as a country has been laid before us, that this is what is going to be happening. That there is a plan for monitoring how the virus is spreading in the country. And that is extremely important for a country like ours, whose borders are porous. You must have a plan that informs you what is going on across the country, in Karamoja, in Kisoro, in Bundibujo, in where you have a plan that monitors the spread and traces anybody who is found to be positive, to make sure that whoever they were in contact with are isolated very quickly, so that you are managing the spread. You have a plan for research on how to protect people now, the vaccines, to kill the virus, the therapeutics, that you have a plan that is known by the country, that is budgeted for, and that is funded, and that can be monitored how it is playing out. So even when you talk, that's why even when you talk about the soaps,
We are telling people, wash hands regularly, you know, put on a mask. There was no plan on how to even get the masks. You remember it was first a debate in the public, and then they started now calling, how can we get a mask? And up to now, you know, the whole, you know, drama that went on with the masks. You are telling people to wash hands. There is no plan on how to make sure that people actually have safe water with which to wash their hands, that they actually have soap. You are talking about wash with soap. But what plan is there to ensure that these impoverished people we have, who normally even in the best of times don't have soap to wash, that they actually have soap which is now a medicine, that they have soap to wash regularly every time. They are not sparing the Kasumoro piece of soap.
What would be then the right thing to do?
So this is the plan. Yes. You must have a plan that factors in the delivery of these goods. You know, so if you lock down people, I told you that one of the things we must have a keen eye on is the body immunity. You are locking down people, you have no plan on how they eat, you know, and you know that your people eat hand to mouth.
Dr. Justice,
whatever they get every day is what they eat.
What is the role of government in checking what I eat as an individual? Because what I expect is experts that government brings on board.
What I'm talking about is not what you eat, yes, that you eat even. Because if you know, it's like when you lock down a country, it's like you take everybody into prison. You know, if you are taken to prison right now as you get out of here, and there was no plan for how you eat lunch or how you eat supper, what would happen to you? Because in the normal times, you have food that you look for and eat at your home, but that has been cut off. So what happens to you? How do you eat?
Prison has to feed me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So what was the plan to feed the prisoners we had created when we know that they feed themselves on a daily basis? There is no, and that's where, even colonial...
The Prime Minister's office has a budget.
Even before you talk...
And an arrangement to give aid.
Even before you talk about the Prime Minister, part of government failure is the absence of food reserves. In colonial time, every home was by law required to keep food as a reserve, that they would not eat without authority of the sub-county chief. It is in your home, it is your food, but it's a reserve you must keep, and it is inspected.
To eat it, there must be permission.
Yes, it is inspected, it is recorded. So every home had a food reserve. You keep some in the reserve, you have some you eat regularly.
Doctor, you're talking about a Uganda that has urbanized.
Yes.
People are in a single room. Where do you expect them to have a reserve?
Yeah, but this is what I'm saying. Even before you talk about these ones, the ordinary peasants you are talking about, and they are still, I think, the urban population in Uganda is still maybe, I don't know whether it's about 10% now. The greatest majority of the population, we are talking, even those who go to Kampala come from Wakiso. They go to Kampala, work, and come back. So the greatest majority of our population is still rural. But those people have no storage at the home level. But home level is the first point. The second point, in colonial time, was at the sub-county. There was a reserve of food at the sub-county. There was a reserve of food at the national level. Now, under independent Uganda, under the Mr. Museveni you were talking about, who says, is criticizing Africa, under his 35 years, nobody in Uganda has any food reserve. Not the home, not the sub-county, not the country. So when lockdown came, there was no reserve of food anywhere. Not even money. We did not even have reserve in the Bank of Uganda. So the starting point, after locking people down, not even before, to know that this is going to happen, they started now looking for where to borrow money. And the portion you saw being delivered long after the lockdown, when people were already dying in their homes, was from borrowed money. Borrowed money, then you go to look for suppliers, and that's how we ended up getting rotten food and so on and so forth. So the absence of a plan is, is inexcusable, that you must have a plan. And in our case, where you even have no reserves, nothing, that's even where it's more critical that you have a
Doctor, who would plan for a pandemic that he did not know would come at a certain point in time?
Well, first of all, we have here something called Ministry for Disaster Preparedness, who get a budget every year. So they are actually supposed to anticipate.
Doctor, I want you to compare the budget
disasters.
The budget the ministry gets every year and the kind of situation COVID has posed.
The budget that a government, that a ministry gets is a choice. You choose. These are choices that you make. If you want to create a food reserve, you budget for it and you put the money there. So it depends on your priorities. But what I'm saying is, I'm talking about the management of this pandemic. Already it found us with a bad situation, very shambolic healthcare, and pandemics, how they play out, depend a lot on the healthcare system.
But in the case of COVID-19, it has torn countries which we would think have the best health cares.
Absolutely.
You saw Italy. You have seen India, where our people go every day.
Absolutely, but that...
Yes, so is it about the health care system?
Absolutely, absolutely it is. And we are getting to understand it now, You see, people have been comparing incomparables. Italy, UK, America have a totally different problem. COVID, as we know it, attacks everybody, of course, but only creates serious disease and most death in the elderly people, from 60 going upwards. Or those, of course, who have other ailments. Now, in Europe and those places you are talking about, the people who are in that age group are more than 20%. Why? Because they have healthcare systems that make them live longer. Here, the percent of population above 60 is 3%. Why? Because we have no healthcare system to make us live. So we are a country of children. Half the population is below 15 years. Half the population are children below 15 years. We are a country of children, and that we must be ashamed of to start with.
So
it's an indication.
Those people have health systems that enable the old people live longer.
Yes.
But COVID overpowered the systems.
Yes, and this is why. So what COVID does, as I have told you, attacks that large population. Secondly, in their case, these large populations live close together. These elderly live close together. They live in homes of the elderly, most of them. So when one becomes infected, all of a sudden, the whole
Home.
home becomes infected. They travel in mass transport. In winter, and this disease came out in winter, in January, December, January. In winter, they are indoors. So their problems are very different from ours. As I have said, we don't have the elderly. We live outdoors. You know, people are in their gardens, they are all over there. There is no home of the elderly. Every elderly is in his or her own home. So they got overwhelmed because of structural challenges that all of a sudden, all these elderly people and there are very many became sick and needed hospital care. So that is a completely different problem. And here, our elderly were also dying. Another factor which is, I think, still generally under research, but which appears to be the case, is that the original virus from China was not as aggressive to the Africans. And that is because of the factors I talked about. That because in Africa, on a daily basis, we are attacked by all kinds of ailments. You know, our bodies are much, much more hardened. They are more immune. It's like, you know, if you look after Frisian cows, you must care for them in a different way from if you are looking after the local cows. Why? Because the local cows have evolved by meeting all kinds of attacks, and their bodies are more resistant. So Africans, it appears, those who live in Africa, not those who live there, those who live in Africa, we are like the local cows. And this thing, the original virus, could not manage us. But
it's the variants
that we have come and we should have known, because viruses mutate. All viruses, not just corona,
Doctor, my last one.
Mutate all the time. We should have planned for the mutants. We should have known that these waves will come, and we should have planned for them. Regrettably, as I said, there was no plan at the beginning. The institutions to manage the pandemic were wrong because we resorted to a law of 1953 rather than going to parliament. And so it was managed by the directives of Mr. Museveni and enforced by rapidly assembled local defense units that used force and terrorized the people and caused the population to lose faith in the government that was managing the pandemic. So even when people, you know, because of the of all these factors, because the government started using the political institutions rather than technical institutions, the RDCs, the Prime Minister, the what, and favoring NRM. So NRM people could hold meetings while other people could not hold meetings and things like that. People lost faith and believed that this was just being used politically.
Yet it was a serious thing.
And never took the advice that was being given by the Minister of Health or government seriously. Indeed, the Minister of Health herself, as you know, was not a good example. She was shown on public, on the television, in processions, in large meetings without masks. So people are saying, so what she's saying is not true.
Doctor, this is my last one to you. Your brothers in the profession have hiked prices for their services. There is a case where they had even, a certain hospital had refused to give out the dead body. There are so many cases, if we are to mention them, there are so many exorbitant, vulgar figures of money being asked from people. What is your view? What do you think has caused this?
You see, private hospitals are businesses. They are not, you know, public health goods. They are businesses. In fact, they are not even owned necessarily by professionals. Any businessman can set up a hospital as a business. and provide services according to the dictates of demand and supply. So rather than shifting our sights, our guns onto the private businesses, the question that would rather be asked is, why is this public good absent where it should be in the public? Because you see, private hospitals cannot provide public health actually, because for them they are there to treat the sick. I told you that public health is primarily to prevent people becoming sick. And if they become sick, to manage them at the first, as early as possible. So it's the failure of government to provide public goods that creates this opportunity for business. Businessmen will look for any opportunity that is there to make money.
Okay.
That is why they invest. They borrow money. Now, you don't know, government does not know the money they have invested into building these facilities, where it came from. It could be from money lenders at 20% per month. So if I put up a facility like that, and I have a market for it, people who will pay so much, I put it. So you cannot now go and say, this is not acceptable. Why didn't you regulate how people can build private hospitals? That you cannot build a private hospital with a loan that attracts this kind of interest. Well, how do you come to regulate just the outcome, the other side? So this is simply a failure of government.
Doctor, what is your closing remark about how this situation would be handled to ensure that everybody gets safe and we see getting back to normal?
Although I am critical on what government has failed to do or done badly, my focus and anger really is on the ordinary people. Because, we get a government that we deserve. If we think we deserve better, we can have better. The other day, there was in Parliament, a debate of somebody who had stolen money, now appointed a minister. Should they leave her to become a minister? I think she was eventually even sworn in as a minister. You have people who are clearly known as thieves. You put them into leadership, they steal. You cannot blame them, you blame yourself. So the people of Uganda need to get our act together to make sure that we have governance that is responsive to our needs. The current governance, we are captives, and I've been saying this all this time, that we are captives, and as captives, we cannot demand, we are given whatever those who captured us choose to give us, choose to treat us. So we must fight for our right. We must fight to make sure that we have universal health care. Universal health care is the most critical of public goods, because you cannot have universal education when you have no health. You cannot have jobs when you have no health. So we must fight to make sure that we have a functioning, efficient healthcare system, that our healthcare workers are looked after. Up to now, we are in a pandemic. Our healthcare workers are not paid. They are very few. They have no protection equipment. As of recent, I had the death toll already 60 doctors that have died. I don't know how many nurses, how many people who are providing health care and risking their lives. Why? Not because there is no money, but because there is no priority in funding healthcare services. And this must be the duty of Ugandans. We've been talking about the money that was borrowed last year for a pandemic. Nearly $2 billion was borrowed. But Ugandans are not focused on and demanding to know where this money is, because a large part of that money was taken to State House for secret work, publicly through Parliament, and the documents are there. I think more than $4 billion was taken to defense for secret work of a pandemic in a home of a person. What secret work is there? Where is that money now? What did it do? Why can't the Ugandans demand? As long as we can't demand, then we should accept to die and get finished.
Doctor, you are a political leader, and you have a number of people around you, MPs, councillors. What do? One would expect that this is what they are asked to go
political
and do.
Leaders,
do they put up these demands?
Political leaders will do what is demanded of them. What I'm talking about, the fundamental failure, is low demand from the population, that this is unacceptable, and to take action to ensure that what you expect happens. It's like, if you are in a home and you bring a worker, that worker will only deliver to you what you ensure that he delivers, and if he doesn't deliver, that you take action. So the people of Uganda are not acting as owners of Uganda, who must employ. And that's why you saw Mr. Museveni saying, I'm not an employee, I'm not a worker of anybody. I'm not a servant. I'm not a servant of anybody.
Doctor, thank you so much.
Anybody who takes public governance in Uganda must agree to be a servant.
Doctor, thank you so much.
And the people must be their owners.
Maybe something small, Doctor. Don't you see anywhere that you would give a credit in the fight against COVID?
Well, you see, again, my role as the owner of the country is not to, be preoccupied by giving credit to my servants. I must demand the utmost because I pay them.
In terms of how much they have done so far.
And I am not satisfied with what they have done. And that's why I raise my voice.
You're absolutely not satisfied in any area.
You see, before you take me to show you where I am satisfied with whatever small that has been done, I must first put emphasis on the bigger things that I expect to be done that have not been done. And that is where the country must focus. We shouldn't spend time, in the village they say that a hunter who never kills any animal, when he kills a small bird, the whole village will know about the bird that has been killed. But that's not how we should behave.
That's not how you do things.
No, that's not how we must behave. We pay. You
see, Doctor, the other time, yes, money was borrowed, like you say. Money was borrowed, but people received for sure. This time round, they have plans to give people some money. The vaccines came.
You see, this is our money.
And people have been vaccinated.
You see, this is our money.
Yes, but at least the capacity to ensure that we get it from our money.
This is our money. We must have full accountability of it. You don't borrow $2 billion. Even the little money of the $2 billion we are talking about, the money that was given to feed the Ugandans was $59 billion. But 1,000 billion was taken to State House for secret work. 59 to feed all Ugandans that are vulnerable. And even that 59, there is a report of corruption that went on in the 59 billion. People are not in jail. So this is why we must, and the whole country must be focused in demanding. If the country is instead focused on clapping for the tiny things that may be done here and there, then what will cause those that are supposed to act? And that is where the failure is. That if I do something small, you praise me, when it is your duty, and Doctor, I'm paying you for that duty.
I shouldn't miss this comment from you. Of course, I wanted us to talk about some little politics, but in the interest of time, a cabinet was announced, and one of your own, your long-time friend, your long-time struggle person, OHT Nabosa Joyce Sebugwao, is now, we are under her docket. She's State Minister for ICT, and as the media, we are directly under her. How did you receive the news?
Well, I don't own people. I work with the people.
Yes, she's somebody that you worked with.
I work with the people who...
What went wrong? How did you disagree with her as a group?
No, there is no disagreement. But, you know, why she went should first of all be her duty to explain, not mine, because it's a personal decision. She has invested and done commendable work in challenging the pathetic governance that we have. She has been very vocal in showing, indeed, like I am doing, the failures of government, the disappointments the country has.
You must have lost a serious person then.
So, yes, as I have said, it's a choice. Uganda has 40 million people. Individuals make choices all the time, you know, and this is why they should be the ones to explain why they have made such choices. To join something they have been, you know, fundamentally opposed to is their choice. I have said that for me, I think she has done a lot to support marginalized people, and for that she should continue to be credited. There are many who have never joined and done what she has done on the part of the population. So she's better than those. I wouldn't have advised her to do what she did. I think it's a mistake to, you know, ride on...
Doctor, how did you receive the news?
To ride on...
How did you receive the news, and how did you react?
I wouldn't encourage anybody to ride the leopard, because where it ends is in tears.
Why do you describe it that way?
Well, I mean, Mr. Museveni calls himself a leopard. So if you want to ride the leopard.
On that very point, you see, she's not the first one.
Yeah.
Especially from your camp. We have Mama Mabida.
And she will not be the last one.
Okay, we have Mama Mabida, we have had Major Ruaramira, a good number of them. What really goes wrong within your camp that people are jumping off your track?
There is nothing. Really goes wrong? You see, our camp is not a camp of leaders. Our camp is the camp of Ugandans that are held hostage by the military junta or juntas in Uganda. That is our camp. It's not a camp of leaders. It's a camp of marginalized Ugandans. That camp increases every day. More and more people become marginalized. So that camp is ever growing and ever becoming more, you know, desirous of change. Now, individuals, for different reasons, you know, some become tired of, you know, of struggling. Struggle is not a cup of tea, it's not a bed of roses. You know, we are in jail, we are hunted, we are threatened.
But we have seen others crossing to other opposition political parties as well.
Yes. This is why I say that
the NUP took a number of your people.
Yes, so this is why I say that people are free to make choices. Either to continue struggling. My categorization of the struggle is only in two parts, not in parties. They are the marginalized, the captives, the oppressed, and they are on the other side, the oppressors, the captors, you know. So those are the two categories. What happens amongst the oppressed is not something that I spend a lot of time on.
Doctor, there are groups that blame this on you as an individual. I talked to some group of people that left and joined the new party that was formed with the group of General Muntu. And some people were saying, no, there is dictatorship there. Dr. Besigye calls for shots and it is him. How true is that?
Well, you should be the ones to interrogate it, because
I have an opportunity to talk to you, Doctor.
Yes, so the one who says that, you should interrogate them to start with. You know, you should not just listen, and you should interrogate them.
Do you still invisibly call for shots in Nigeria?
Because you know that I stepped down before 3 years before the end of my term.
As president of the party.
As president of the party, I stepped down, and I do not hold any position in the governance of the party. I'm not a member of the national executive. I am not a member of the national council. And I don't attend any, I've never attended any of such meetings. Those meetings continue and take decisions. If you are talking about the party now led by General Muntu was my successor. He became party president after I stepped down. So can he or whoever is associating with that party tell you whether I had ever interfered in the way he was running the party?
Doctor, in
Absolutely
all the subsequent
not.
elections internally, you were a supporter of the group that were against him.
So if I was, how did he become a president? It means that
he beat you with your group.
Yes, and that was, if that was possible, and that was immediately after I stepped down. So if he could beat me with my group immediately after I have stepped down, would my influence become any more afterwards?
Why do people blame you so much over things?
Well,
even in other political parties, other people will blame you.
Where you see,
on social media currently, it is.
You see,
what do you do wrong?
I am encouraged that, you know, there are many people out there of different groups who are aiming their shots at me. That is encouraging, and it should encourage everybody.
People aim shots at you. You don't mind about the shots themselves?
But that's what shows that there is something to shoot at. You'll never shoot at anything that is not worth shooting at. You know, the imagery is that of the mango tree with a lot of mangoes. It is the one that people will be throwing sticks and stones at to get mangoes. A mango tree that...
Doctor, you look at it in a general picture.
A mango tree that is...
the details. How do you feel? Because I've had people on social media saying you're working for the NRM indirectly, you're in bed with the NRM. How do you feel about such? Because you call them stones, but some are stones, others are metallic, others are what?
Yeah,
how do you feel about that?
Very much to be expected. As long as, and as I have said, to be celebrated, because that is the only proof that I am productive.
Okay.
And anybody who is productive will get, you know, that kind
will
of...
be attacked.
Those kinds of attacks. I dare say that the greatest majority of them, disguised in all kinds of forms, come from our main opponent, Mr. Museveni.
Those that attack you?
Yes. The greatest majority, they are disguised in all kinds of forms, but really, as I have said, our struggle has only one front: the oppressor and the oppressed. Now, the oppressor is known world over to use all kinds of approaches to continue to weaken those in the oppressed who are challenging him, and that is, what we really experience.
Doctor, we thank you so much for all the time we have had and whatever we have shared.
You're most welcome. I would, encourage UBC to become, a professional public, service provider.
And with that, Doctor,
if you were, I wouldn't be commenting on it at all. I did comment even as you came here about your yellow microphone.
But yellow is the middle color in our national flag, definitely, as a national broadcaster.
Yes.
This is the image we have to carry.
I know, but you know what other image it carries. And
Doctor, every color carries an image.
Yes.
Today, if it were red,
which is why you must be sensitive.
If it were blue,
yes, this is why you have to be sensitive. If it was white, what would it suggest?
Uganda Freedom Alliance, Federation, the Honorable Betty Kamia's party.
So you have to be.
Uganda Federal Alliance was white. Is white actually.
Well, Betty is you know where she is, Well, anyhow,
I'm talking about the party.
Anyhow, you know what I mean. I have been to court with UBC. Even what court gave me has not been paid. At least start there.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kano Kiza Besigye. He is a known political leader in this country and a medical professional. We have shared a lot about COVID-19 in terms of how you can protect yourself, how it is being managed, and he has said his views about a number of things in those particular areas. We thank you so much for watching. I'm sure you picked a lot. Bye-bye.